Welcome to Spicer and Company. Today, the entire country has heavy hearts as we mark 19 years since our country was attacked.
Yeah, and today we remember the lives that were changed forever by those horrific acts. So please join us as we reflect back on that day.
Their names and their stories are forever inscribed on the eternal roll call of American heroes.
Christian Adams.
In their memory, we resolve to stand united as one American nation.
Lorraine G. Bay.
To defend our freedoms, to uphold our values, to love our neighbors, to cherish our country, to care for our communities, to honor our heroes, and to never, ever forget.
You know, Lindsay, 19 years later, those images are still tough to see.
Yeah, they are tough to see. It brings back a lot of emotions and remembering what that day meant to so many people around the country.
Yeah, I was just a few blocks away working on Capitol Hill. My window has a line of sight to the Pentagon. I remember the first plane hits New York. We were kind of wondering what's going on. The second thing, minutes later, we see smoke coming up and trying to figure out what this all means, where we were. And, it was just absolutely chaotic, confusing, trying to figure out what was going on. Was there more coming? And for those of us who have some connection to that, just witnessing it, I don't think you'll ever be able to not remember what it was like that day. And for so many Americans, it was so painful because they lost a loved one.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I remember being on an airbase in Utah, and we went on complete lockdown. I watched on TV the second plane hit the tower there, and just, everyone around me just couldn't believe what their eyes were seeing. And little did we know the impact that it would have on so many lives.
The difference between then and now is, as much as those images are really hard to look at, we lost 3,000 roughly Americans. These tragedies come with amazing stories of heroism, people that did just absolutely amazing things on that day to rescue or help a fellow American. And it kind of echoed that thing that President Bush said, we can hear you. And it proved that the terrorists weren't going to take away what happened in America. And so many times we get knocked down, but we get up, we're greater, we're united more as a country. And there were so many people that came out of that day and so many amazing stories. Today, I want to share a few of them with you. Let's welcome right now retired New York Police Department Sergeant Gerry Kane and a 9/11 hero, Jonathan Stewart. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Gerry, tell me a little bit about that day for you and how you got to know Jonathan.
Sure. I was a sergeant, and I was assigned to the staff of Police Commissioner Kerrick. I responded there like a couple of thousand cops did, and probably about 1,000 firefighters. And it took me a little while to find Commissioner Kerrick, and when I found him, he asked me to go find the head of the FBI field office for New York City. So I found an FBI agent, and he told me that Director Maughan was in the South Tower, and I was about to make my way into the South Tower when it came down. I probably had about 7 seconds that I could have run flat out, but I did not know that. So I ran for about a second and got behind a vehicle. Soon realized I made a huge mistake because, the building was going to come down on me. It came down all around. Obviously, I'm here. I didn't get hit with anything heavy, but I did get a pretty substantial dose of dust. After a minute or two of figuring out how to breathe and orientating myself, anybody who was there, if you ever spoken to anybody that was there, it was a real wild thing to go through because it was the loudest noise you've ever heard in your life. And then suddenly it was the quietest quiet that you've ever heard.
Yeah.
And I found myself crawling, and then I thought I was walking, but John will tell the story, but I ended up going north about 3 blocks. I knew where north was.
Yeah.
I was over by like Fulton Street and Church, and I found myself in front of St. Peter's Church, and that's where I met Jonathan.
All right, Jonathan, pick up the story for us.
So just that previous summer, I had just finished an internship with the New York City Fire Department where they trained high school students to be EMTs. So I was actually sitting in class, and my high school was located in Soho, which is not too far from the towers. So I got a message on my phone about the first plane hitting the towers, and I immediately called. The only number I knew was our training command, and all they said was just go. So on my way, I ran as fast as I can. En route is actually when I saw the second plane crash. Um, as I got down there, I'm trying to figure out who do I report to, what to do, and that's when that first tower came down. I immediately tried to run and take cover, and I ran into St. Peter's Church. St. Peter's Church has two sets of doors, metal doors, glass doors. From inside the glass doors, I could see an individual, on the ground. And I'm saying, to the group that I was in there with, firefighters, police officers, nurses, someone has to go get him. And just, a couple of seconds went by, nobody went. So I just went out and grabbed him. I told him, hey, you can't be out here. And, we got him, we walked inside and immediately started cleaning his face off with holy water.
Wow.
And yeah.
One thing, Gerry, is that you guys actually lost contact for a little bit. How did you guys reunite and become the friends that you are today?
I guess, John, it must have been about 6 months after the attack. One of your teachers or principals, John was still a teenager then. He's a man now, but he was a high school teenager then. And he wasn't sure about calling a police sergeant, even though I gave him my business card. And so he had a teacher or an administrator give me a call. And I'll admit it right here on national TV. I told John that I was going to buy him a steak at Peter Luger's. I have bought
Did you buy it for him?
I've taken him out for a steak. I think twice I've taken him out for a steak. I haven't gone to Luger's yet, and I will get him to Luger's, I promise. So he called me, and they asked me if, what happened. It was a teacher or a principal or somebody, and I told the story. I said, I was out there. I had no idea what to do. And I felt a hand around my wrist. And he said, you can't be out here. And I thought to myself, yeah, no kidding, I can't be out here. And he took me into church. I did use holy water to clean my face and to gargle, get the dust out of my mouth. And then once I got my head together, John and I'm an old altar boy. And it's a Catholic church. We went into the sacristy. I had a knife. I said, John, take the cloth off the altar and cut it into strips, and we'll soak it into water and give it to people to tie around their face. He goes, I can't do that. So I go, I'm an old altar boy. You can.
You got to go to confession after that. You know that, right?
I did. And a year later, my wife and I spoke to the pastor at that parish, and he gave me absolution for it. Yeah, it's dispensation. And so then when that ran out, I said, cut the priest vestments. This is why God put this stuff here. And we did get pushback. John and I spoke about this yesterday. Mm-hmm. A businessman who was just covered in dust completely, Sean and Lindsay, the only color that existed after these buildings came down was gray. Yeah. That's it. Just like, it's like battle concrete gray. And this guy was just gray. And John went to cut another set of vestments, and the guy challenged John and said, don't do that. Mm-hmm. And I decided to up my authority, and I called myself a retired altar boy, figuring that just sounded more official. And I just assumed until I get usurped, I'm the ranking Catholic authority here in this church.
I've never pulled that one out before.
But, they had flower vases and chalices and all kinds of different things that we could put water in. And people needed water badly. That was like the number one need of anybody was water.
Guys, we're almost out of time, but Jonathan, I got to ask you real quick before we let you go. What do you do every year to remember 9/11?
My thing that I make sure I do is I text or call Gerry. 9/11 is almost like a birthday to me. It's one of the things that we always say is that we made it another year. So this is almost like our birthday, New Year kind of thing. And for me, I just take that day out and I remember those who lost their lives and those who even lost their lives afterwards due to medical conditions. So that's really a day of remembrance for me. And I just keep spend the day to myself, but I make sure that I reach out to Gerry and at least we have some communication.
You got to remind him he owes you that steak.
Oh yeah, he reminds me all the time.
Okay.
He reminds me all the time.
Gentlemen, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for your service to this country. It's great to know that Jonathan's a fellow shipmate. Thank you both for everything you did that day and letting America know how heroic people were on that fateful day.
God bless America.
All right. Still to come, we're continuing to remember and honor our heroes on this day. Up next, we're going to speak with Captain and Dr. Dave Tarantino, who ran towards the Inferno at the Pentagon to search for survivors. You don't want to miss his powerful and heroic story. That's next.